Hey, I'm with my good friend. Talk about action heroes. I'm with my good friend and legendary author, speaker, TV personality, Allan Pease. You'll probably know Allan because he wrote the bestseller, Body Language, among other books. How many books do you have now, Allan?
I've written 18 books. The latest is The Answer, and that's the 18th.
18 books. Yet, how many copies? I'm probably thinking like a trillion. How many copies did Body Language sell?
Body Language sold about 6 million. We've been paid on 6 million. It's probably sold about 20 million in total when you put the Indonesian, the Russian, and the Chinese pirated ones into it.
Yeah.
So there's some of my books. I have 20 different versions of them. I was in Russia recently. There's 20 versions of one of my books, Why Man Don't Listen, and I didn't recognise any of them.
Right. And I first met you in 1997. We were speaking at the same convention in Sydney. I was in awe. I memorized your story, just in awe.
Talking about that.
Matter of fact, I use it all. I just changed.
I got accused of using your material now.
I just use it all and say it's me. Allan. You're really an expert in body language and personal development and motivation, inspiration, sales, business. Mm-hmm. What do you think are some of the biggest, concerns and troubles that you see people going through these days?
I think if you look at the statistics of certainly worldwide, but in Australia specifically, and that reflects most of the Western European world, that 84% of people in Australia hate what they do for a living. They look forward to Friday. In fact, they've got restaurants called Thank God It's Friday, which confirms that they really hate what they're doing. And they get Mondayitis. They wake up not feeling good, and the weekend is their whole life. And that's a sad situation because inside everybody there's the ability to be absolutely great at something. And when you're great and you're doing something you love, you don't work anymore. You never work at, like, I love what I do, you love what you do. Yep. So I don't even know what day it is. I don't know what day is today. Is it Monday?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, yeah. One chance out of 7 I get that. So I don't know what day it is because every day I wake up looking forward to something. And so weekends, when they come around, they can sometimes be more of a pain than anything because business closes down often on the weekends for most people.
Right. And so to find your purpose and your passion so that you do love what you do, because I believe a lot of people just think it's, impossible. Like, hey, you got the special job, Allan, and Kurek, you got the easy job. You're lucky.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm just a normal person. Yeah. What do you think people can do? What action steps do you think they can take to find their passion?
Well, you're right in what you're saying. I mean, I come from Housing Commission, state housing in Victoria, from a small country town, and doing what I do today it was an impossible dream for anybody living in those days. And when I used to talk about what I do as a guy, they would laugh about it, crack jokes about it. 800 people lived in this little village, and I don't go back there anymore. In fact, I thought about buying the village and firing them all at one stage. So what do people do? Well, think back into your life, and everybody can do this, about what is the one thing or two or three things that you did in your life in your past, doesn't matter how young you were, that you loved so much that you would do it for free given the opportunity. What was that thing or things that you'd do for nothing? You'd get out of bed and go and do it. Now, if you can identify that and put that in writing, that one thing or two or three or however many you've got, everybody's got at least one or two of those things. That's where greatness lies for you, because everybody who's great at anything in the world, whatever it is, whether it's in sports or television or anywhere, and you've met lots of these people, the people who are absolutely great is because they are passionate, they love what they're doing. It's not a job, they just get up, and getting up to go to work for money is a fruitless adventure. It's not going to work. At long term, you'll get disillusioned, you'll get negative, you'll hate Mondays. But when you get up to go and do something you really want to do, that's where greatness comes from, and money follows.
Right. I've heard there's a fact that more people die at 9 a.m. on Monday morning than any other time in history, and it's because they hate their jobs. They'll do anything not to go to work.
Well, just in Australia, in most Western countries in Europe, it's over 80, sometimes 90% of people, they hate what they're doing. And so, simple advice I've got for anybody who's in that 80 or 90% is quit! Get out! Stop wasting your time and wasting everybody else's time. Think about this. Look, they're going to something they hate doing, Kurek. They just don't like it. They can't wait till the end of the day comes about. Now, their boss is paying them real-time money to do a job, and they're not getting the best out of them because they're not doing the job because they're not interested. Right. So they're cheating the boss, they're cheating themselves, and they're going nowhere, and suddenly they're 40 and sitting out here on a bench or something.
Yeah. Just not as nice as bench as yours.
Not as nice as bench.
Well, and then once they discover their passion, I think you probably agree with this, is then you figure out how do you get paid for that, right? But first you got to discover what you're passionate about.
That's right, and most people don't believe that they can make a great career or get greatness out of their passion. So, for example, I have people say to me, "Oh, yeah, look, I love sports." You know, guys, I love playing tennis. Well, so did Roger Federer when he was a kid. So did Rafael Nadal. So did just about any great tennis player you could think of. Now, somebody said to me, I love doing football. Well, think of the football stars who make millions of dollars doing something that they can't wait to get out of bed to do. Now, okay, admittedly, we're talking here about people who are like the Federers and the Mike Tysons in boxing and Oprah Winfrey. You know, she just loved talking all the time. Like you and me. She loved talking, and she's a billionaire from talking. And Jay Leno and Letterman in the States and Ray Martin in Australia, they all love talking. And all you've got to do is work out, how do I make it? Well, that's the first step, is decide that's what you're going to do. Now when I said before you've got to quit what you're doing, if you're in the 84 to 90% who don't like what they're doing, they don't look forward to Monday, you've got to quit. Now, it doesn't mean you walk in right now and say, I quit, because you've still got to pay the mortgage.
Because Allan Pease told you to.
Yeah, no, that's right, don't blame me for it, but you've still got to pay the food bills. But you've got to make a decision that somewhere in the not too distant future that you'll get out of where you are. It might be 6 months down the track, it might be a year down the track. Once you've identified the passions and written them down. And writing them down is important, because one of the things about keying into a computer or a smartphone, you're using around 8 connections of the brain to do that. Where when you're doing handwriting, there's up to 10,000 connections operating at one time. That's why when you write things in handwriting, you're emotionally involved in that goal.
Right.
It burns into your brain. Now you've got to key it into your computer and your smartphone too. You do that as well. But initially, handwriting is the way to go with the goal. Put it in writing, because your brain's like a whole ball of spaghetti with a million thoughts going at any one time. In fact, there's 400 million bits of information hitting our brain at any one time. We could only absorb around 2,000 of that and process it. And so it's like a big ball of spaghetti. So when you write down every thought you've got in handwriting, it's like taking each strand of spaghetti and putting it on a piece of paper. Then you can look at that strand of spaghetti. And when you do this, when you write down everything that you think you might want to do, that's one of the first keys once you've got into this, is to write it down. Write down a list of everything you could possibly think on it. And I've done this all my life. I can do 163 different things, you know that? 163 things. Now, a lot of those I can do them at world level, get world recognition, some national recognition, some state, some local, some just I know about, and a lot of them I'm really crap at, such as tap dancing. You know, watch Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers tap dancing around all the time when I was a kid, and I thought I could do that. They float through the air, I can do it. Have you ever done tap dancing?
No.
It's hard. It is really hard, and it's really worse when you're crap at it, which I was. So me and 40 fat ladies for 30 days of every month would tap round the Avalon Town Hall in Sydney. And I found it hard work, and eventually I quit. Now, if you've got a whole list of goals, and this is one of the things, you write out as many of these things as you can. Most people have one goal, and they get halfway through it, because you don't know if you're going to like that goal until you're halfway through it. You don't know. That's the reality of it. And people get halfway through and they've got no other goals, so they say, well, I'm going to stick with it. So now they're sticking with something they hate to do, and they finish up in the 84% who hate Mondays. If you've got a list of 10 goals, you get halfway through something you don't like, you get rid of it, you just write it off. Now, if you haven't met your deadline, you can extend your deadline. The deadline is an estimate of when you think you're going to finish it. It's not the actual crucifixion date, it's when you're actually going to finish it. And so you write it down, write as many things as you can, and this 160 odd things I can do. There's just, some of them are physical things, like martial arts. I have black belt martial arts, which I know that's a specialty of yours as well. And I play every musical instrument: piano, bass, harmonica, guitars, drums. I fancy myself as a drummer. I fancy myself as a singer, but they tell me to stop. But that doesn't matter.
They keep asking me to sing the song Far, Far Away.
People hate me singing, but it doesn't matter, because with voice effects, which I've discovered, I can sound like just about anybody, and auto-tune makes me sound half decent. So it's possible to do. Look, if you can think of something, it means you have it within you to be able to do it. Because if you didn't have the wherewithal within you to do it, you wouldn't actually be able to think of it.
Right. So
if you can think of it, as Napoleon Hill said back in the 30s, what the mind can conceive and believe the body can achieve. Now the difference is today we've got science that proves that what he said was actually true. Exactly. He was going by a rule of thumb and gut feeling, but it's absolutely true.
Awesome. And Allan, we just shared the stage Arnold Schwarzenegger in Sydney, and
Yeah, that was
your
great.
presentation about, you know, the neuroreceptors and connectors and just how the brain works to help people succeed. I heard you have a workshop coming up soon, a
Yeah.
VIP program.
Well, it's a new thing that we're doing up here at my property in Buderim in southeast Queensland, and I've been hiding out here for a lot of years, and nobody even knows it's here. But we're opening it. We're going to do two of these a year. The next one's going to be in May the 6th, here in southeast Queensland in Buderim. That's on the Sunshine Coast, where we both live, where every smart person lives.
But don't move here.
Don't move here. We don't need the competition. We've got a maximum of 30 people we're going to invite to that. It's a weekend that starts Monday morning at 9 o'clock and it goes through till 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And it'll be a workshop with myself and Barbara, with a small group of people, on identifying what it is that your passion is. And most people don't know how to identify it. That's the start. And we'll be writing a list, so when people leave on the weekend, they will have so many things in their head about what they want to do. They'll be saying, why didn't I do this earlier? Well, the reason you didn't do it earlier because your parents probably couldn't tell you, because they were working class, like my parents were.
Yep.
My grandparents came through the Great Depression. They didn't know anything or have anything. And so today you've got the opportunity of doing anything you want, including flying that plane going over. You know?
And of course, we paid for him to fly right at that specific
good
moment.
timing. We'll send you cash.
So it's a full-on workshop, very intimate with you and Barbara, which, you know,
one-on-one,
again,
very
amazing
intimate.
teachers.
Well, it's an unusual thing for me to do, because I've always been a keynote speaker in front of large audiences, you know, from 1,000, 20,000, 80,000, for the big ones that you get over in America. And having a small group like that's a new thing for me, but it's exciting because people get to ask anything they want to ask, and we're going to work through stuff. And I'll be talking about body language and communicating, because everybody wants to know about that, and how to relate to the opposite sex and get them to say yes to whatever it is you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should know a bit about that, Kurek.
Wait, this interview's not about me. So, great. And I guess I'll put a link under the video so people can find out.
Sure.
And you have some seats available still, or?
Yeah, we've got 16 people booked for the next one. We'll have a maximum of 30 for this.
30.
And the only marketing we've been doing is word of mouth and a little bit of Facebook. That's about it.
Yeah, I know they're going fast. So
yeah,
you just started this up the other day. So
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
Anything you want to leave people with, like, Allan, one last bit of action that people can take to make their lives better today?
Well, I think what I said earlier is an important point for everybody, that if you can think of something, that means you have it within you to do it. All you need is a process and a system to be able to do that. And most people don't have a process, they don't have a system, they don't know how to work out what it is they want. So actually getting what you want is not the hard bit, that's actually the easy bit. It's working out what it is exactly you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah, or don't grow up.
Or don't grow up. Yeah, I mean, growing up is optional. Getting old, you don't have a choice in that. But yeah. So it's having a system, and that's what we're going to do on that weekend. And I know that's what you do too. Is you get a system and you follow the system. But the first part is finding out what your passion is. And most people don't know how to find their passion, or don't believe that they can become outrageously successful at something they love doing.
So for a lot of people who, because I deal with this as well with people, is a lot of people don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they're passionate about, so you're going to also help them discover that, as well as how do you go get that.
Discovering is the important part, knowing how to do that, and the processes of writing and unraveling all those bits of spaghetti out of your brain, writing them down is the first part. And when you unravel all the thoughts and put them down in writing, what happens is some of those don't look so interesting anymore. Yet other things you might have thought were fleeting ideas start to jump out at you and get you excited and get the adrenaline going. And these are things that you'll get out of bed and go and do for free if you had to.
Awesome. So for everybody watching, is my recommendation is at least follow the link, find out what the program's all about. You definitely want to be here. It's an opportunity of a lifetime to be 30 people with Allan and Barbara Pease. And thanks, Allan, for allowing me to your house to interview you. And
always welcome. Kurek.
Love being a friend with you for so long. It's been great.
Absolutely.
Till we meet you again, have a most outstanding day.